Right, we will get started in just a minute. So come on in, check your audio devices, and the instructions are on the screen. All right, welcome to Penn State Berks LionSide Chats, Majorly Prepared series. Come on in, welcome to our campus. We are so glad you could join us today. My name is Dr. Ryan Hassler. I'm one of 3 LionSide Chat moderators working alongside Don Pfeiffer-Wrights and Sonia De La Cueto. Before we get started, we wanted to share that you should please feel free to submit questions throughout the entire program via the Q&A feature. Once the presentation concludes, we will facilitate a discussion with our facilitators for today. We will also be recording today's session so you can revisit the topic or even share the experience with friends and family. Now we are excited to introduce Dr. Ben Antolino, who will be speaking on kinesiology at Penn State Berks. And so with that, Dr. Ben, if you're ready to go, I'll invite you to share your screen and take it away.
Okay, pull it up here. Share. All right, so hi, so my name is Dr. Vanessa Antolino. I'm the program chair of kinesiology at Penn State Berks. So today I just want to talk a little bit about, why and how do we study human movement, and then kind of how does that relate to the kinesiology degree at Penn State Berks. So, kind of first off, what is kinesiology, right? So that's kind of always the first thing that comes up. It's not a, very well-known term on like biology or chemistry or physics. So the simple definition is the study of human movement. All right, so kinesiology is studying human movement, and how do we study this movement? Well, at Penn State Berks, we study it from a very holistic manner, meaning we study it from a psychological perspective. So what motivates us to move? From a historical perspective, historically, how have we moved? How has those movements changed or have not changed over the years? We study it from a philosophical perspective in terms of movement. Do we move for movement's sake, or should we be moving for health reasons or things like that? What's the best approach for movement in terms of thinking about movement? We look at it from a physiological perspective. So what happens to our bodies internally as we move? So in terms of respiration, heart rate, what changes as we move? We study from a neurobiological perspective. So what's happening inside our body in terms of neurons sending signals to the muscles, activating muscles. Where's the idea for movement come from anyway? How do we go from the idea to actually reaching for something? We also look at it from a biomechanics perspective. So we're looking at the forces involved in doing movement, forces applied to the body, and could they be something that can cause injury, or forces that the body applies to the world, and what forces our muscles producing. So we study it from a very, very broad perspective, which provides our students a very, very strong foundation as they continue on with their careers. In terms of what can you do with kinesiology? Generally speaking, there's all sorts of different areas. It's a very, very broad field, so therefore there's very broad career opportunities. In certain areas, so BS would be the minimum required. So medical sales, health policy, medical administration, massage therapist. So those are areas that you would be, it's a health related field. And in many cases, just BS would be required to start. Some like massage therapists will require some additional training, and others you might want to end up going for a master's later on. Others, graduate work is the minimum required. So your kind of alphabet soup: physical therapy, PA, physician assistant, occupational therapist, athletic trainer, now is a master's degree, cardiac rehabilitation, prosthetist, orthotist, chiropractor, sports psychologist, physiologist. All those require some level of graduate work, either a master's or a doctoral degree, to work in those fields. And they are very popular fields for our graduates. Other things more in the area of fitness and sport: personal training, fitness expert, gym management, coaching, sports psychologist, again, attached more towards a team, sport biomechanist, sports psychologist, retail specialist, so individuals who are associated with the field of sport and exercise. Those are areas as well. Again, because kinesiology is such a broad field, our students go in many, many, many different directions. And broad background that we give the students does allow them to go in those directions. So that's sort of what you can do with kinesiology. What do I do with it, as it were? So then the next kind of question is then why kinesiology? Why would I pick this? And I can do a lot of things from it, but I can do those things from different areas. Why would I pick kinesiology? So it's a very strong profession, strong major for allied health professions. This graph over here on the right is showing the students who matriculate into physical therapy programs. And you can see here on the highlighted section, the most frequent majors are exercise science and kinesiology, far and away. So exercise science is just a different term for kinesiology. So many students who are going to PT school are coming from kinesiology backgrounds. PA school, it's another popular major for PA school as well. So it provides you a very strong foundation if you're going towards those allied health professions. And one of those reasons it's a hands-on major, right? All these professions are hands-on professions, and the major itself gives you a strong background in terms of hands-on learning, which translates very nicely into the graduate work, which is again hands-on. Additionally, in terms of kinesiology, it provides a very broad background, which allows for many career possibilities. So instead of being very pigeonholed with a narrow scenario, you are in a fairly broad major, which gives you broad possibilities. So you can shift along the way. And maybe you think, you're going in one direction, but by the time you reach your junior or senior year, you've made a change and you're going a different direction, which doesn't require the change in major. So it allows you to explore a lot, but still stay in the same major. So that's the other reason I would say for why kinesiology. You're really allowed to do quite a lot in terms of exploring for career possibilities, and allows you to go in many different directions. So the why of the major itself. In terms of what does kinesiology look like at Berks, we have classes in what we call the core of kinesiology. So all those areas I referenced, psychology, history, philosophy, exercise physiology, neurobiology, and biomechanics. There's a course in each one of those areas that we would define as the core of kinesiology. We also require chemistry, anatomy, physiology, and physics. So there is some science as well in this area. And then in addition to those courses, we have courses in kinesiology that are geared towards understanding personal training, cardiovascular training, strength training, assessment of physical wellness and health, and then application of that knowledge into assigning exercise as a prescription. So how do we take what we know and then move into giving people advice for fitness? In addition to those courses, we have internships. Our internships are quite student driven. Certainly the faculty help, but students are not assigned to the internship. Students find them, and then we help facilitate that. In total for the major, there are 5 credits required. It's a 1+4 scenario. So you do a 1 credit internship earlier on in your career. It's getting your feet wet, it's the observational hours. And the idea is, you think you're going in one direction, so you decide you'll do an internship in there. And then after you say, I love this, is absolutely what I want to do. This is reaffirms what I want to do. Other times it's like, what, nope, definitely that's not for me now. I want to go somewhere else. And then it allows you to make that shift as opposed to figuring that out your senior year and it's a bit too late. Then the 4 credit internship, it's a much longer time frame, more hours associated with it. And the idea there is that you are, either if you're going into the clinical area for graduate school, you're getting clinical hours, you're getting experience in the field you want to work in ultimately. And if you're looking at a different field, you can get work experience essentially in that area. So in many cases, our students at internship in those areas have then picked up a job off of the internship, or they have now some experience. So when they're applying to their first job, they can say, hey, I was at this location for such and such amount of time, and this is what I learned. So they have some sort of takeaway from it there. So that's the idea behind internships. It gives you hands-on application of the material in a setting that you are looking to go into. In addition to those courses, we have 2 separate kind of tracks within kinesiology. They don't differ by a lot of credits, but they do differ. And it's the science emphasis and the business emphasis. The science emphasis is set up, it's 16 credits 4 credits of which are a senior thesis, which gives you experience for what research would look like. You would do a small research project with a faculty mentor, and gives you a good capstone experience, kind of applying the knowledge throughout the degree to that research experience. But then also it gives you some one-on-one interaction with faculty, which is helpful. And then it gives you that experience of what is research, not necessarily saying you're going to do research for the rest of your life, but as you go into graduate school, you're going to be reading research, you might be asked to do a graduate project, and you have that background now, you know what's going on with that. The other credits in the science emphasis, there's 12 extra credits, and they are, generally speaking, used for graduate school prerequisites. So this allows for students to kind of tailor the major towards the direction they're looking at going. For example, in kinesiology, we require Chem 1, College Chem 1, as it were. And in PT school, they require Chem 1 and Chem 2. So Chem 2 would go there in those extra 12 credits. Same thing with physics. We require Physics 1. PT school requires Physics 1 and 2. Physics 2 would go in that section as well. But if you don't want to go to PT school, and you want to go to PA school maybe, let's say, well, they don't require the second level of physics. So they're going to require OChem. So OChem could go into those 12 credits. So it allows you to tailor the curriculum towards what you need in terms of going into the graduate school realm. The business emphasis is set up so that it gives you background in business. And in fact, it's only one course short of a business minor. So many students end up taking the extra class and they declare the minor and they get the minor when they graduate as well. And the idea there is to give you enough information to be dangerous, I guess is probably the best way to put it, in terms of the business realm. So you have some background in management, marketing, accounting, so that you could then start to move up the ladder in terms of a corporate facility there. Or if you want to open up your own business, again, it gives you the basics of sort of those areas so you can start in on your career path that way. So it allows students to go in either direction, not saying that they're mutually exclusive. We've had students go from one to the other in terms of science emphasis students going to opening up their own business or going into the medical sales or something like that, and students in the business emphasis going to PT school. That's absolutely happened. But the idea is generally it helps to tailor your major towards those career goals. In terms of strengths for kinesiology itself, why at Berks? One of our strengths is small class sizes. So our classes are typically under 25 students. We cap it at 25. And the idea there is that it helps to produce faculty interaction with students. It lets students know their faculty much easier. And it provides a lot more one-on-one interaction time. If students who are struggling, the course can be adjusted in that manner. So again, small classes are much better for learning, I would say, and certainly allows for more hands-on interactive labs as well. I can run a lab with 25 students much easier than I can run a lab with 50 students in it. So that's another advantage. It allows for more hands-on lab activities. So the faculty interaction at Berks, I would say is quite strong. I'm hoping that students will say as well on the panel here, but again, the faculty are very well invested in our students. We want to see our students succeed. We keep up with our students as they graduate. After they graduate, we see how they're doing. So we do, a lot of our faculty form fairly strong bonds with our students. So again, that's another strength, having that faculty interaction throughout, especially when it comes time to get letters of recommendation. I've read applications for PT school. I've read those letters, and I can tell when a student and faculty know each other well and when they don't. And so having that faculty interaction helps those sorts of scenarios as well. In addition, in terms of resources at Berks, we are Penn State still, so we do have access to a lot of large-scale Penn State things, but then also we have access to unique things such as the cadaver lab at Penn State. Outside of University Park campus in Hershey, Berks is the only other campus to have a cadaver lab. So there are unique resources at Berks, cadaver lab being one of them, that you can get as well. So there's other things in terms of research and so forth. All of our faculty are from top grad programs across the nation. So again, we brought our backgrounds and our unique research experience, and then therefore equipment to bear at Berks as well. So there's a lot of options for interaction there as well. Another thing just to kind of to mention here, we're growing. So we're very excited here. So we're getting an addition onto our home, as it were. It's going to be the Beaver Wellness and Athletics Center. With the additions here, you can kind of see in the foreground, this was taken a couple weeks ago. We're getting a brand new exercise physiology lab and a brand new biomechanics lab. Right now, they're currently combined into under one roof, and now we will have 2 brand new lab spaces to do work in, to take labs in, to do undergrad research in. And the schedule completion is spring of 2022, and I hear they are on schedule, if not slightly ahead. So keep our fingers crossed that keeps up, and we'll have a new home soon. So that's something to kind of be excited about. In terms of our graduates, where are our graduates ending up? In terms of graduate schools, we have a number of students at Alberta University for PT, had students go to PT School Thomas Jefferson. A couple of our students have gone to Shenandoah University in a unique DPT AT program. Josiah is one of them. We'll be attending here in the fall. We have students who've gone to the University of Scranton, Hershey for PA school, Drexel for PA school, Johnson and Wales for PA school, East Stroudsburg for exercise physiology, Barry University in Florida for exercise psychology. We've had students go work for East Penn Manufacturing, YMCA of Sinking Spring, Stryker Orthopedics Company. So we have students in all sorts of locations, doing all sorts of neat things. A couple of our students have been with Stryker. When they were at Stryker, they're in surgical reps. So they're the contact person from the company Stryker. They're in the operating room with the doctors. So if there's any problems with machinery, they're the ones troubleshooting it. So they're getting a lot of unique experiences there. So that's just a taste of where some of our graduates go. Again, we've had many, many more, but that's just to give you a smattering of where people have gone. So at this point, I'm going to stop talking about the major myself. I'm going to turn it over to some of our students here. So we have a former student, Josiah Mercer. He'll be attending Shenandoah University's program here in the fall. And then Emilian Black, who's a current student, and her plan right now is to be headed towards PT school. So I'll turn it over to Josiah first, and then Emilian. Let's stop sharing here.
All right. So my name is Josiah Mercer, as Dr. Ben politely introduced me. I'm currently going to be enrolled in the Shenandoah University dual track program, which is a doctorate in physical therapy and a master's athletic training program. Shenandoah University is located in Winchester, Virginia, and thankfully with Dr. Ben's recommendation, I was able to secure a seat in a very competitive field. But on top of that, I did graduate from Penn State Berks with a degree in kinesiology this past year in the spring of 2020. And I will say that Penn State is a very unique network, and I believe Dr. Ben did a fantastic job of talking about the opportunities that Penn State offers to their students. I'd like to say I'm a living example, because when I went to Penn State, I really didn't have an idea of what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something with kinesiology, but unfortunately I didn't know what I wanted to do. I went through everything from nurse practitioner to orthopedic surgeon to chiropractor, and I kept on switching what I wanted to do. And I'm very thankful that Penn State, the kinesiology program offered that broad education that gave me a firm understanding of what I was interested in. Because I believe if I would have went into like a 3+3 program for doctorate of physical therapy school, I would have been in trouble. So I'm glad that I had the 4-year education for a bachelor's to get that. And then just speaking about my experiences with the Kines program, as Dr. Ben said, the 25 to 30 student class sizes, some classes are a little bit smaller than that, are a great benefit to the kinesiology students as well as the graduates, because you get onto that network and personal level with the professors, which really helps you out with your academic and also where you plan to head for the future. If it wasn't for Dr. Ben, I mean, with his connections, he knows one of the professors at Shenandoah University, Dr. Sherry Hale. Just mentioning that connection and getting connected with her and talking about my experiences doing research with him was a great opportunity to kind of shine the light on my application and show them what I could actually do. But that's practically it. I mean, there's a ton of things to do with the kinesiology program, as well as the academic and extracurricular activities at Berks. So I highly recommend for anybody who's looking for it.
Amelia, I'll let you go next.
Hey, hi everyone. I'm Amelia Black. I'm a sophomore kinesiology major, like Dr. Ben said. Sort of like Josiah, I changed my mind a lot. My entire life, I was like, okay, I'm going to med school. That's it. Then I got here and I was like, okay, maybe PA school. Then after meeting with Dr. Ben for, I think like a few hours for a few weeks, I was like, okay, now I'm going to be a PT. So hopefully that's my last change, fingers crossed. But either way, I never had to change my major. It was amazing that no matter where I was, no matter what step I was at, I was able to be fostered by this community that is the faculty in the kinesiology program. And they helped me throughout all of it. Dr. Ben, he knows my advising schedule in and out. He's amazing with that. So yeah, basically, no matter what change you're going through, Penn State kinesiology will always be there for you. And I'm really grateful for that.
Thanks. And then at the end, we'll have some time for questions if any of you guys have questions for these guys. Almost done here. So basically, in the end slide here, just the contact information. So this is the rendering of what the building will look like when it's done. So it's not too bad. It's greener than the picture I showed. But so if you have any questions, please now open up the floor to questions. And then, like I said, there's my contact information just in case you have a question you want to ask offline. Additionally, if you have a question for Josiah or Amelia and you are watching this live or whatever, you can shoot me an email with contact. I would ask a question for Amelia or Josiah, and I'm more than happy to forward that along. So with that, any questions?
So I will entertain any questions through the question and answer feature we can throw to any of our presenters. I'll start with a question, Dr. Ben. Can you just touch upon a little bit the difference between, so say we have a student who's interested in going into kinesiology, but they might have another opportunity, another institution for exercise science. Can you just talk maybe about the difference between the two degrees?
I mean, in terms of the names of the degrees, there's actually no difference. Really, it's, this is what I got in my philosophy class years ago, my sports philosophy class. It's really, so if you want to sound fancy, right? Ology sounds good, right? So kinesiology, kines being movement, ology is study of, so study of movement, that sounds great. But the trick with that is no one knows what it is. It's not a biology or anything like that. So programs made a shift and said, well, we're going to call ourselves exercise science, because that's what, I mean, people know what exercise is, people know what science is, ta-da. So they're actually just different flavors of the same thing. Now, kines programs, around the nation will vary in terms of content. I would say that our program is quite strong because it has that broad background. Many programs do not have the history and philosophy components in the major itself. And well, I think on the surface that's, oh, why do you need history? Why do you need philosophy? I have found since getting out that having the history and the philosophy have provided quite a lot of helpful information and good views on the profession, more than I would have ever gotten in sort of the more strictly speaking, neurobiology, exercise physiology classes. Not that those weren't good; they were obviously very good. But having that slightly broader view, I believe, was very, very helpful.
Great. I'm going to actually throw a question maybe to the students, the two of you. Did either of you do undergraduate research, or can you talk about maybe more of what's the day-to-day life of a kinesiology major? Did you do any clubs that were related to your major? What, outside of the classroom, what does kinesiology look like at Berks?
Should I go first? Are you okay with that? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So outside of, I'd say the biggest part about being outside of kinesiology is that the biggest thing that you can do as a student at any university is branch out and find out what your niche is. So when I went to, when I was enrolled with Penn State, I wanted to get more involved on campus. I wanted to grow my connections. I was involved with Lion Ambassadors, which is a student organization. I was the president of Kinesiology Club. I was involved with Fit Youth. I just put myself out there because it was a bunch of things that I wanted to help, not only help the community, but help myself in understanding what, how important it is for others. Physical therapy is a degree where you help others with their issues. So I wanted to do the same by helping the community. But aside from that, as for the research component, you can get started with research fairly early as a kines student. I worked with both Dr. Singles and Dr. Ben right here on thesis, as well as some other research projects that helped broaden my application as a student and also as a worker. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have my job now. I'm actually at work right now at Tailored Physical Therapy. So not only the connections, but just having that experience really, broadened my horizon for what I wanted to go for.
And for me, I will say that it's an emphasis on connections. So for instance, I got a job this summer at St. Luke's Hospital in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and my reference was actually Dr. Ben. So I thank him for helping me get that job, and it's been an amazing experience. And my upcoming internship, as soon as I mentioned, I go to Penn State Berks, I'm in the kinesiology program, they were like, we want to bring you in immediately, because they know the students that come out of the program and they really wanted to work with me. So I'm thankful for that. And in terms of research, I'm in talks of doing research. I can't really decide on what I want to do yet, but I really do want to conduct research here with the kinesiology faculty.
So Dr. Ben, just on sort of an outsider, I'm not in the kinesiology department, but I teach statistics and have had several of the students. Can you maybe talk about some research opportunities specific or I know your department, the kinesiology, faculty collaborate across many divisions on our campus. So can you maybe talk about that sense of, how you go beyond just the kinesiology program to involve the students in research?
Right. So in terms of involving in research, so all of our tenure line faculty are research active faculty. So we have active research lines going that we can very well bring students along with us. So my area of research is muscle mechanics, and there's definitely aspects of that students can certainly help with. We've done, I have an ultrasound unit used for looking at muscle. You can also look at babies, sort of idea of ultrasound, but we use it for muscle. And actually work with Josiah, and we were looking at a question in terms of if you repeatedly contract a muscle, how does that muscle change over time? And is it a predictable change, or is there something else going on there? And we actually presented at a conference last summer our results. So, the faculty are more than willing to work with students for undergraduate research, because honestly, that's how we all got started. I would not be where I'm at today if I did not do undergrad research and picked up and absolutely loved it. And my mentor helped me through that whole process. So, there's definitely opportunities. Faculty are happy to give those opportunities. We also do collaborate across the campus quite well. A lot of us have our fingers in different pies, as it were. Kinesiology, because it's so broad, inevitably you're coming from different backgrounds. My undergrad degree is a clinical degree. I'm an athletic trainer. Dr. Singles, we're both biomechanists. We both study biomechanics. Her undergraduate degree is in engineering. And one of the engineering faculty, he and I shared a committee member for our PhD. So we have a close connection there as well. So there's a group of us on campus looking at studying human movement. It's called the Human Movement Research Center. And a number of us study human movement from different aspects, and we can all collaborate together, sharing resources, sharing students, sharing ideas. So that's how we collaborate kind of beyond the borders of kinesiology. And it's helpful for the students as well.
Great. There is a question. I'm going to kind of split it into, maybe kind of reword it a little bit, but there's a question coming from the audience members about maybe how has the construction project affected the kinesiology degree, given that was your home. And then the other question was sort of how COVID has impacted the kinesiology, but maybe Josiah and Emilian, you guys can maybe answer that question from the student perspective. What being that it's a hands-on program that we have talked about, what has your experience been, being that we've had to have some restrictions? So maybe Dr. Ben, do you want to maybe start, and then we can ask the students to chime in?
Yes, the initial plan for the construction was that we were very adamant that none of the teaching space would be touched that would affect classes. We were planning the background in terms of how to deal with our research agendas, but our goals when we're talking to the construction managers and everyone on campus was teaching had to be maintained. We had to have a teaching space. We had to have that space for labs. So we made sure that was taken care of with regards to the construction. Now with COVID, since everyone's online, that's kind of shifted things. Now no one's really in the building, so the building actually has progressed a little faster. But with COVID, we have done everything we possibly can in terms of faculty to ensure we are giving hands-on as much as we possibly can. I teach anatomy, so one of the components is palpations. So finding the bits and bobs on the bones themselves on people. Ordinarily, pre-COVID, we'd just palpate each other in class. Now we do it at home, so I walk them through palpations on myself. Okay, start from here. Okay, you're going to follow along the clavicle, to the clavicular joint, and on and on. So I do walk them through, so they maintain that. I know Dr. Singles has done many things. There's a lot of neat things you can do at home with a tape measure and a stopwatch for biomechanics. So she's done a lot there as well with that. So we've done as much as we possibly can to not have any loss for the teaching side of things with both construction and COVID.
Sure. To either one of the students, you want to chime in? I think it'd be great to hear what your experience has been in this environment, and maybe what it was like before, what it's like now, and how learning has continued to go on.
I can go. So I just want to give out a shout out to Samantha Hagenbush and Arizona Shrek. They are freshmen this year, and I just want to say that it's been hard with COVID, but they have been relentless. They have really shown how much of a passion they have for kinesiology, because despite COVID and being online, having the remote instruction, they have been able to show their passions. And with the faculty as well, like Dr. Ben said, it's still unmatched. Dr. Ben, I believe in Kines 202, we did MRI imaging, and it was amazing because how would I ever see that? Even with COVID, it was just an amazing experience. And also with the palpations, we worked through it, and that was our final practical. So even though it was remote and it was a little awkward having to stand up and show different positions, but it was interesting. It was something that I'm glad I did. And even with COVID, it was a bit of a learning curve for all of us, but other than that, it was still unmatched, still an amazing experience from a student perspective.
And I can contribute to the work perspective of COVID because I was on the tail end in March when I graduated, so I didn't have much time doing virtual classes. But I will say that, especially the healthcare clinic that I'm in at Tailored Physical Therapy, we're taking all the health precautions we can. We're making sure the tables are spread 6 feet apart. We're trying to sanitize as frequently as we can. We have a sign-in sheet. We're taking temperatures at the door. We're doing everything we possibly can to ensure that we have that patient safety. And at the same time, the physical therapist, I love it here because they focus on manual treatment, which I truly believe is a huge part of physical therapy. And we spend 30 to 40 minutes with each patient. The physical therapist works on them hands-on manual treatment. They ensure to wear a face mask and a face shield at all times with gloves, and the patient wears a mask as well. So we're all taking the precautions that we can to just ensure everybody is safe. And I'm sure the internships are doing the same thing. So.
I just put another call out there. Are there any other questions for any of our panelists? I believe up to this point, we've answered everything. Dr. Ben, anything else to add while we see if there's any other questions, or?
I'm trying to think in terms of the degree. I mean, the faculty care very much about the students, but I also say, we have a good group of students as well who are very passionate about the field. So it works kind of hand in hand. Students are very excited, faculty are very excited. So it's a very dynamic major. You can kind of get swept up in it in terms of, we have students who are, seniors, they bring along the underclassmen. Sometimes you see it with regards to research projects, where you see the interaction between, we run, one of the pictures were from Kines Week. So we'd run a week in this end of the spring semester, kind of talk about kinesiology across the campus, and you see quite a lot of enthusiasm among the students for that as well. So I'd say, as much as the faculty are enthusiastic about the major, the students are very enthusiastic as well, which certainly helps and makes it a fun experience for everyone.
Great. Students, anything else to add? I don't see any other questions here. If not, we will wrap up. Okay. Thank you for Dr. Ben and to our 2 student panelists. Good luck, Josiah, on your new adventure in grad school. Glad that you're starting it and I'm at the end of mine already. So good luck as you go on that new adventure. And a special thank you to everybody today for joining our LionSide Chat Majorly Prepared series on kinesiology. As you do click out of the webinar, you will receive access to a survey. Please take the few minutes to complete that survey to let us know what you thought about today's chat and perhaps offer some ideas for future chats. You're encouraged to reach out to us via email. And we remind you to always check our website as we're continuously adding more chats, and there is our contact. And on the right are our future upcoming chats. Be sure to come back soon, meet with our faculty, staff, students to learn about our exciting majors and experiences that you can have as part of the Penn State Berks community. Stay safe, Berks and beyond. Signing off until next time, this has been the Penn State Berks LionSide Chats. Thanks, everybody.